Oh my goodness, I am incredibly honored and delighted and humbled by this acknowledgement of the long-standing and deep friendship that I have had with the Armenian community in New South Wales and indeed in Australia. And if I may say, I had long ago accepted that I would probably never be your favorite female former Premier of New South Wales. I am so delighted to be honored in this way tonight. It is a room of friends. It is truly a room of friends. And I begin by acknowledging the friendship extended to us tonight by the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and their acknowledgement of country, and thank them for their welcome. I also acknowledge the friendship that is shown here to the Armenian community by the ambassadors and the reverends and the community leaders who are here tonight in support of the Armenian community. I also acknowledge my friends across the political aisle. And in particular, I'm quite delighted tonight to be in this position alongside Paul Fletcher. Some of you may not know that Paul Fletcher and I, and my husband Ben, have been friends for some 25 years before anyone had ever heard of either of us, and we'd ever sought pre-selection. So it's a particularly personal honor and personal friendship night to be able to share the stage with Paul. I also would like to, if you don't mind, acknowledge my good friend Walt Secord, who also served incredibly valiantly and well as my Chief of Staff when I was Premier, and pay tribute to a former foe of mine, John Alexander, in Bennelong. John has served the Bennelong community with integrity and distinction, and I acknowledge his service and wish him all the best in whatever comes next. I have often said at these events where I have been able to join with the Armenian community that I look forward to the day that Australia acknowledges the genocide in Armenia. It would be a moment, I believe, of healing. It would be a moment of acknowledgement, of course. And it would be a moment where we recognize the suffering and where we begin the pathway to healing and justice. In that, and when that moment comes, and I believe it will come at some point, the Armenian National Committee in Australia will have played such a significant role. And I want to talk about that role for a moment. But before I do that, I'd like to acknowledge the leadership of my friend, Haig Kasarian. I'm proud to be a friend of Haig and FOH. I think many of us in the room tonight are friends of Haig. And the work that he has done, the work that the committee have done, and the way in which the committee has sought to engage with parliamentarians, has sought to ensure that the next generation of the Armenian community understands the value of that engagement in political leadership, not in a partisan way. Indeed, the work that you do is bipartisan. It is across political parties. I think it's tremendous, and thank you, Haig. But I want to talk a bit about that sense of seeking a recognition of the genocide. Because the way that the Armenian National Committee has gone about this is about respect for the suffering and the loss that many families, indeed Gladys Berejiklian's family, know so well. It is done with an insistence that a recognition of what happened in the past needs to be acknowledged. But one of, I think, the great tributes of the Armenian National Committee is that it is not done in a way that seeks to demonize or blame or inflame relations with the Turkish community in Australia. Because one of the great aspects of our Australian community is the strength of our multicultural nation. It's often said we're the most successful multicultural nation on earth. Gladys talked in her video about the freedoms that we enjoy in Australia, and she's right. The fabric of our society is strong. And in a week in politics, without being too partisan, where we have seen discussions about whether or not people have divided loyalties, it strikes me that one of the strengths, one of the assets of our nation is that we are truly a multicultural community where people come to this country and they contribute and they succeed and they strive and they raise families and they start businesses, not based on who they are or where they were born, but based on what they can do. And we represent and we recognize that in one another. And so what I'd like to acknowledge tonight is the way that the Armenian national community has so successfully stood up for its insistence that what happened over 100 years ago was wrong and it must be acknowledged, but have done so in a way that is truly Australian. And I think that speaks volumes about the leadership, the strength and the commitment of the Armenian community in Australia. Now, I know that this has been a really difficult year, an incredibly difficult year. The borders have been closed. We have seen the ongoing conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh, and with so many people who have been unable to be with family or speak to family at times, this has been an incredibly distressing period. And so my thoughts and my prayers have been with so many families have been torn apart at this time. One of the great benefits of having Tamara work in our office was that she was able to bring a very real sense of what the impact of what was happening in Artsakh, what was happening overseas, and how it was affecting her family and her community. And my office, which has long been engaged with Hague, indeed one of my staffers, Zach, has managed to get to Armenia before I have. I just blame COVID for that. I was scheduled to go. We've long been engaged on these issues, but to have Tamara in our office brought a very real sense of the distress and the challenge and the sorrow. But can I also say that is not where Tamara's contribution ended. She's an amazing, smart, effective operator. I'm pleased we were able to find her a job in Linda Burney's office. I don't think that is going to be the end of her career. And whether your interns are going to Labour or Liberal offices, let me tell you, that is one of the greatest investments of time and effort and resources that the Armenian National Committee is making. There's possibly no other group of community group that I see more often in the halls of Parliament, before they closed it down because of COVID, than Hague and the Armenian National Committee. Hague, thank you. To the Armenian National Committee, thank you. It is a remarkable and lovely honor. I'm humbled to be here. Ben and I are delighted to be able to enjoy the evening with you. And I look forward to many, many years of friendship with the Armenian community in Australia. Thank you.